Each of our southeast towns have old buildings that are reminders of an earlier history. This is now part of the Mount Edgecombe High School here in Sitka, but in the early 1940s this was built as a hangar for Navy PBYs. This is just one of the facilities that's left over from World War II in Sitka. Walt Dangle was stationed here during part of the war, and he's able to put words to some of the images and some of the buildings that still remain in Sitka from World War II.
Well, in about 1935, because of the war tensions in Europe and Japan and in the Pacific, they decided to make a naval air base here on Japansky Island. They were primarily PBYs, and they patrolled the northern Pacific and the Gulf of Alaska. And being as the base was on the sea, why they'd be open to, could be possibly open to attack by the Japanese, why they were protected by coast artillery. We had our artillery positions down on Bjorka Island. Over on Shoals Point, they were under construction, it's never completed. Here in McNaughty Island, and a number of the smaller islands had searchlight positions and smaller harbor defenses. They had many troops here, which was prime duty was seacoast defense. They were coast artillery. There was the 250th Coast Artillery and the 266th Coast Artillery, which replaced them here. And there was approximately between 10 to 15,000 troops here.
McNaughty Island, where the Army had their gun positions during World War II. All that's left actually is the concrete emplacements and the bunker rooms. There was a number of Quonset huts, wooden buildings, and all the supply rooms and things. They've gradually succumbed to the elements and have been hauled away or disposed of. The bunkers are just about 100% intact. Concrete doesn't erode very fast, and they were well built.
Well, so we got to the top of something. What's the something? Where are we?
We're at the end of the causeway.
And what is the causeway?
Well, the causeway was built in 1941 from the main base at Japansky Island over there, and then it followed around here. What they actually did was blow the tops off of a lot of the smaller islands, use the rock to fill in between them to make a continuous road right out to the gun positions.
And the gun positions are
right
up
over,
here?
right up there. Yeah.
Let's go look.
Okay. Here we're standing in front of one of the storage bunkers on McNaughty Island. We're just off the causeway now on the main island. And this was used for general storage, ammunition and flammables, so forth. It's all concrete and buried right in the rock. This is about 50 feet by 25 feet wide. It's Quonset hut shaped. It's arch ceiling inside. There's quite a few of these bunkers around on the islands. I think this is the only big one out here on this island, but there's quite a few in Japansky.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, we're about 100 yards, I guess, from the gun bunkers. This is a personnel bunker, mostly quarters, and could have been used as a hospital, temporary hospital in case of any action. Quite a few rooms in here.
But there were no Japanese ships came into Sitka?
No, there was no invasion here. The nearest actual invasion was Dutch Harbor, which is on the other side of the Gulf. Sitka, Kodiak, Seward, Dutch Harbor, and those were all put in here and may have served their purpose, the fact that they were determined. if this was unoccupied and the Japanese wanted to move into Alaska, they would have had a lot easier time.
Well, and so you served here. You were always fearful or always ready for the possibility of an attack?
Well, I couldn't say we were fearful, but we had it in mind. I can still remember Pearl Harbor. We put on special duty, and it was exciting time when we heard about Pearl Harbor. And of course, we saw Japanese lurking behind every bush. Since 1944 or 45, when they shut this down, it's grown up considerably. It's almost impenetrable to get through here.
Wow.
You know, there's lots of rooms here. So this was where the ready rooms where they stored the ammunition, gunpowder. You know, these were all separate charges. The projectile and the powder charge were separate. They had to store them in separate parts of the building. And there must be 20 of these little rooms along in here. You got to remember, you got 6 feet of concrete and about 20 feet of earth over your head here, so it's pretty safe. Okay, we'll leave the main storage area and go back in here and look at some of the rooms where the fire direction center was. Good, I'll hold the light for you. They tried to break it up into small areas in case of fire, or if one end of the building got hit, it wouldn't just destroy the whole building. It's actually a maze. The ceiling in here is covered with the cane residue, the old stalks from sugar cane, and it quiets it down. It doesn't boom so much because they did a lot of activity in here. This is where the Fire Direction Center was.
And what's the Fire Direction Center? Well,
it's the mechanical means for triangulation for spotting the guns. It takes more than just looking over a barrel of a cannon this size to fire.
Well, these rooms just go on.
Well, there's quite a few of them, all right. Here's one of the ventilating shafts. They had a power motor on there to bring fresh air down.
All these are filled with power.
Yes. Yes, just over here, we'll take you to this next room where the generators were set up.
Let's go look.
It had diesel generators generating power for the entire installation. Besides lighting, the guns and all the service equipment was powered by electric motors. This is where the generators sit. You can still see the beds and the bed bolts. There was three diesel electric generators sit in here and furnished the power for the whole establishment. These were the service corridors where they run pipes, wires down.
It's kind of dangerous now.
Well, nobody's taking care of this place for a little time. It'd be nice if they did cover them up sometime, but I don't think I could lift them. They're solid concrete. Now, here's a large room in here. You see the sweat on the walls.
And so there's a lot of rock on top of us. This is really...
I'd say that a minimum of 6 feet of concrete, reinforced concrete, and then it's been piled high with rock. Actually, on top of this is the control stations, which we'll go up to later, where they were actually the observation posts. Well, we might as well go out and get a little fresh air. Watch this one. This is actually what they call a sally port in the old fort days. It was where you come out of the fort onto the outer works. And this is where the gun was set up. Now, this is the actual gun position here. Boy. One of these on each side of the big bunker we were just in. And it was an 8-inch rifle, a surplus from World War I. It was built for the Navy.
Well, Walt, this is a pretty spectacular view. Back in World War II, what was this spot used for?
Well, this was actually the gun position we were just visiting here. Covered the whole bay here. This is Sitka Sound, Cape Edgecombe in the distance there, and Bjorka. Approximately 20 by 20 miles. And pretty much that would be covered by these guns.
What else is in this area, other facilities that still remain from World War II?
Well, there was a large observation tower. Observation ports on top of this bunker.
And so what would this have been used for?
Well, this was an observation post where the men operating the guns or controlling the guns would be able to see the actual action without being exposed to counter battery fire. Yeah, there was once a time when there was quite a view from here. You could see the same as you could down from the gun position.
I mean, obviously the trees weren't here then, back in the war.
That's right. They've grown up since. And there's a certain attraction to old fortifications. One thinks of the times when they were actually manned and what people did and what they looked like and what they thought at that time. And now we're part of history. I look at this fort, and as you look at it, it's new to you. But it brings back about a lot of old memories to me.
As the battles and tactics shifted in the Pacific, Sitka and Alaska's role in World War II changed and diminished. Some reminders of wars, however, last a long time. Thanks for joining us again on Rain Country. I'm Scott Foster.